The show can't start until we crack open a bottle of Revelton. Whether it's their crisp, clean vodka, the bold spice of their rye whiskey, the rich smoothness of bourbon, or the original honey whiskey that started it all, every pour is a taste of craft and passion straight from the heart of Iowa. So pour yourself a drink, settle in, and get ready to relax, laugh, and enjoy the show.
Hey, it's Andrew Downs. I'm proud to support Three Beards Media, and I would love to work with you. If you need merchandise for your company, organization, band, softball team, whatever, I can help. From name brand apparel to promotional items, large orders or small, online stores, and more, I can help your brand stand out. AKC Marketing is local, based in Johnston, and we are an employee-owned business, so our costs are low and our turnaround times are fast. But most importantly, we give you personal service to make sure you get exactly what you're looking for. Email me at andrew@akcmarketing.com or find me on social media, and let's make some cool stuff together. Now sit back and enjoy this Three Beards Media podcast.
Red and gold on the edge of the sky, feel the rumble, hear the battle cry. Out in Ames where the storms ignite, we don't back down, we rise and fight. Jack Trice's his name, yeah, it echoes strong. A story of honor still marches on. Through the rain, through the pain, through the fire we roar, 'cause we were built to thrive in the eye of the storm. Feel the ground shake, hear the crowd roar. Cyclone power, can't take no more. Legends rise, this is our norm. We stand tall in the sigh of the storm. There's a cyclone blowing on the outskirts tonight. Jack Trice shakes when the team takes flight. Buildings rocking, hear the magic call. We rise together, we'll never fall. Feel the magic you can't deny. Rocket stars are taking off straight to the sky. Brent, big play, Kirby making history. When the moment gets tough, that's a cyclone way. Through the trenches, through the lane, through the heat, through the rain. When the storm comes rolling, we embrace the fight. 'Cause the cyclones strike when the time is right. Feel the cyclones strike when the...
All right, welcome back to In the Side of the Storm, where we talk all things Cyclones. We are live from the AKC Marketing Studio with Andrew Downs and sponsored by Revelton Distilling Company out of Osceola, Iowa. And our newest sponsor to all of the Three Beards media platforms, it's JJ's Boutique up in Johnston. I'm Dave Larson here with my Storm Team partner and Cyclone great, the legend, Marcus Pfizer. Good evening, Marcus.
What's going on, Dave? How you feeling?
I'm doing okay. I'm a little sore. Wife's been having me paint. If I don't paint like that for a while, I'm using muscles that I didn't know were there.
It's ridiculous. Those small connective tissue muscles and things, man, you do something that you haven't done in a while, like hanging pictures and stuff. I had a guy come by, like a handyman come by today to put up security cameras around the house. I could have, he used my ladder. I could have done. Man, I'll pay for convenience in a second. I ain't got time. Today is Sunday. The games are on. Hey, do what you do.
Well, hopefully you got him a soda or something, or maybe some Revelton on his way out the door.
No, we give him water and everything. He's been a guy that we've had, for a couple months. He's, put up like the tarp in the backyard for shading and all that different stuff. So pretty good dude.
Well, I'm halfway surprised that Chris Shipley has not popped on just because of the Bears-Cowboys game. Oh, I don't know why I do this to myself every year. I
mean, it took a game like that from Caleb to beat the Cowboys, but I mean, that was a tough loss, but a good win for the Bears for sure. Good win.
I'm sure he's saving it for me. So tomorrow night, I am substituting for Aaron, his other co-host, for Old Man Strength, as we talked to Will Keeps with Starts Right Here. Will's a good friend of mine and has done a lot of great things in the community. And both of them are Bears homers. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure I'm just going to be roasted tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's been a weird Sunday of games. A lot of teams that you didn't expect, to win one. The way some games was won was very dramatic. my state's got their tails kicked, so that was expected. But it's just the beginning of the year. Watching some entertaining games, and hopefully, this Kansas City game could turn out to be a good one.
I hope not too good because I face off against Patrick Mahomes as the fantasy quarterback. And if I can hold him to within 27 points, I win for the week.
As a team or him?
I need to hold him below 27 fantasy points.
Okay. What made you take that against him?
So he's on the other team that I'm facing, and I had the choice of starting Caleb Williams, which in retrospect I probably should have because I think he scored 49 points, or Jalen Hurts, and I started Hurts, who had 41 points, very respectable. I just could not start Williams when he's facing off against the Cowboys defense. I felt like as a Cowboys fan, I already had to start DJ Moore because really I don't have much wide receiver depth on fantasy. So I did start him, but I could not start Williams and want him to do well against the Cowboys.
Oh yeah. Well, that game is on now. Russell Wilson just threw an interception, so I put the ball back in Patrick Mahomes' hand after they've already scored. I guess they got 6, so what, 2 field goals it looks like, and that's one guy you don't want to heat up. Somebody's gonna get their first win today. Both of these teams are 0-2, and so let's see what's about to happen.
Did you watch any of that Texans Jaguars game? That
No,
was
I didn't.
ugly.
I know who won it.
The Jaguars ended up winning.
Really?
Yeah.
What was
Texans
it at?
offense just struggled. It was in Jacksonville.
Okay, well, that's one of those games that it will be tough, but if they win at home, you kind of like we're not gonna say about the Cowboys and the Bears too much, but the Bears were at home, so you can understand that. But it's still early, guys. This time of the year is where you come out of training camp and all of that. Some guys hadn't been in the best of shape of doing things, or there's holdout. You're gonna get a lot of injuries and stuff the first couple of weeks, and then things start to settle down after a little while. CD Lamb goes down with the ankle. Hopefully that's not too bad. So we'll see what happens. In the next couple of weeks of what's going on, but it's going to heat up for a lot of teams. Like I said, Kansas City. When the last time we seen them being 0-2? Never in Mahomes' career as he started off. This with no wins. So it's going to be very exciting for sure.
Have you seen so much turf toe injuries?
Man,
Obviously, we've seen Brock Purdy. He's been out. We saw a quarterback, Joe Burrow, who's out for 3 months. He had to have surgery on his. I've seen turf toe. Obviously, that's something that is fairly prevalent in the NFL, but I guess just not to this level.
Well, it's weird. Like tackles are tackles, but guys do, even with CD Lamb's injury today, they do that. That tackle ride, whatever you call it, where they, they're grabbing and then they're, pulling down, and whatever limb is below them, it just happens to be that's how Dak ended up breaking his ankle a couple years ago. It's something they need to watch a little bit more on. I think there's a penalty now. I forget what it's called, but like if you do, grab the guy from behind a horse collar and just, dead weight yourself down, then they throw a flag for unsportsmanlike conduct. But even so much like this, like the way they're going down and their foot being on the ground and their weight on the back of them, like seems like Joe Burrow's is pretty extensive. As he got to have her surgery. That's the first time I heard somebody having to have surgery on it. I remember Shaq having it for a while, and a lot of people was giving him, "You so big and you ain't go out there and play on the toe." He's like, you don't know how important that big toe is, especially somebody his size. So, it's an unfortunate injury. The 49ers are 3-0 now. They got the win today without Brock, so hopefully he can get some rest and come back stronger.
Well, and you talk about the NBA with not necessarily turf toe. I think there's a fairly equivalent. You guys are always stepping on each other's feet
They,
and
they call it turf
landing
toe.
funny.
They call it that. They call it turf toe.
Okay.
I mean, it's still, even though we're not on turf, but it's still like the same.
Same
You
injury.
know, it right. If you throw, if you throw a pass too hard or whatever, and you mess up whatever that is in your elbow, you got to have Tommy John surgery. You're not a pitcher, but the same thing basically happens. So they call it turf toe. It can be from the same scenario. You know, you running and that toe, getting hyperextended too much, and the same ligaments are tearing or whatever it is, and that happens. I've never
Well,
had it.
in the NBA, don't you guys see a lot of the fascia injuries, that muscle that runs under the foot, and you hear about stories of doctors going in and basically just cutting it to relieve the pain?
Yeah, yeah. Even like the plantar fasciitis up the back of your heel. I remember my rookie year. I think it was my rookie year or maybe my second year. Man, I had plantar fasciitis so bad in both of my heels. Like I used to have to sleep with this funny like dorsiflex brace on. They kept my foot because when your foot relaxes, then that's when that fascia gets tight. If you have it stretched, then it's stretched out. Then you take the brace off, and now once it's like when your foot is not dorsiflex, then it gets tight, and then you put that foot down, feel like somebody stabbed you in the heels. But after you move it around a little bit, it gets a lot better. So I think eventually mine just got to the point. So I guess they both just ripped on their own, where I don't have any issue. After that happened, I didn't have any issues of it, anymore. But it hurts. It hurts like hell.
So you're like Forrest Gump. You had your special shoes.
Yeah, yeah. I used to have to like ace bandage around. It was like just like a L, just like a L shaped like brace thing, and you just put ace bandage around it, like you can walk it, or like a walking boot, but not that heavy of a apparatus. And you just put it on at night. They make it out of like wood, the material that they make a cast out of. They take the molding of your foot and then just flash it all together, and it's like your foot. You just put it on at night, and if you had a big enough stock, you can put it on. It's just so your foot doesn't like relax while you sleep. But you get up in the morning, take it off, and go about your day. But it gets real tedious after a while.
So speaking of the NFL, we started on that versus running into the Cyclones football team, who had a bye week last week. But did you see Will McDonald's play today?
Oh my God, did I ever? I thought they were going to call. They were going to throw the flag. They like throwing the flag or whatever. That was real gutsy. I like the fact they say, it's only about 3 or 4 athletic guys that have enough athleticism in the league that can do that. And this guy's one of them. I was like, you damn right he is. And so that was pretty exciting. But then, we see, like I said, in the text chain, man, Baker Mayfield, like I'm such a fan of his, of the way he's responded and turned his career around. And I saw that 149 left on the clock. I was like, man, I said to myself, they can get them close enough to kick a field goal and win this thing, and that's what happened.
That's
But this,
exactly what happened. But boy, that play, Will
that,
leaped over the both offensive and defensive lines, came up,
I
blocked the
had
kick,
to,
then took it. That was a phenomenal. You just don't see plays like that.
man. That what I said in the chat. These boys out here doing the big play curve, scoop and score. Like that ball bounced. A basketball can have bounced more perfectly right into your hands like that. And I know once he saw that bounce back up, it felt really good because that was the game-winning play in your mind. In your mind, you're thinking, "Hey, this is it. We're gonna go out here. We're gonna get this stop, and we're gonna get out of here with a win." And then that didn't happen.
It was a phenomenal play. And, that's coming off the heels of Jalen Knowles' big punt return on Monday
Mm-hmm.
Night Football as well. So Cyclones are really in full force. While Purdy's on the sidelines, we've got other guys that are stepping up and making plays and showing off their skills in the NFL. And tomorrow
Yeah,
night we've got Dave Montgomery playing in another Monday night game.
they're getting into the swing of things and learning and understanding. Like I don't think people understand the level. Like high school, then you got college. You have the high level of collegiate sports. But when you get to the pro level, it doesn't matter who you are. Like it's always going to be some kind of difference of a fault because like you're talking about guys that anywhere between 21, 22, 23 years old. Well, you got guys that's 27, 28, guys that's 30 years old that's been in the NFL. Like you're a rookie going up against a Myles Garrett or Aaron McDonald. These guys have been doing this for a long time, and they know how to get you off balance and put you in compromising situations. And once you've gone through it for a little while and start to figure it out, things get better. But man, it's just such a different dynamic of how good people don't understand how good pros are on that level at the next level. I remember playing one-on-ones against a guy named Corey Blunt. Corey went to Cincinnati, was in the NBA for years. He was older than us, and I'm guarding him, and we're playing, in practice, whatever, and he's shooting three-pointers like Ray Allen, and I'm talking about deep threes, and I'm like, where in hell, and just bottoms, and then you start to understand, like, okay, he's been around for a while, even though he may not do that in the game because that's not his role on the team. That doesn't necessarily mean that these guys can't do it. You see guys all the time, drop back and throw. Like, where you get that 70-yard? He can throw it like that. Like, they've been playing, been pros for so many years, you never know what can happen.
All right, I want to take a quick time out a little bit earlier than normal, and then we'll come back. And I do want to pick up and talk a little bit about the Cyclones. We did have that bye week last week and have seen some interesting things transpire in the Big 12 in the last week to 10 days. So let's talk a little Cyclone football on the other side.
Gotcha.
Making great tasting bourbon requires the perfect combination of ingredients, conditions, and time. The longer it rests, the better it tastes. Revelton Distillery's new single barrel bourbon is made from 80% corn, sourced 100% from Iowa farmers. And unlike mass-produced bourbons, each barrel of Revelton's single barrel bourbon is unique, proofed on when it tastes best. As they like to say, it'll be ready when it's ready. And to ensure the highest standards of quality and flavor, owners Rob and Christy Taylor oversee the production and bottling. Every single barrel. Iowa born, Iowa aged, Iowa bottled. Try the new single barrel bourbon from Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com.
Gentlemen, let's be honest. Finding the perfect gift for your wife or girlfriend isn't always easy. You want something thoughtful, stylish, and unique. And that's exactly what you'll find at Styled by JJ Boutique. Julia Bradshaw and her team strive to be your go-to boutique for casual, boho, and chic clothing and accessories, helping women elevate their style one piece at a time. Located right here in Johnston, Iowa, Styled by JJ brings trendy, high-quality fashion that boosts confidence without breaking the bank. So, if you're looking for a gift that says, I get you, instead of I tried, head to Styled by JJ Boutique. Because nothing makes her smile like feeling beautiful. Styled by JJ Boutique, where style meets confidence. Visit our Johnston location or shop online at styledbyjjboutique.com.
All right, Marcus. So have you seen JJ Boutique yet? Is that new for you?
Yeah, I saw it last podcast.
Okay. So that's one of those little reminders as we were talking before the show. On that next game you come back for, you can promise your wife a shopping trip to JJ's Boutique.
Well, let's go see what it's about. I want to have some 5X's and some size 18 shoes.
I don't know about size 18 shoes. That might be you may have to pre-order those, but I'm sure that they can come up with something for you. So I say we go to Revelton and then we just get an Uber, or I'm sure I can somehow get my 16-year-old daughter to take us all up to JJ's from there, and we can have a good time. Then go right up to Ames for Cyclone football. this would have been the weekend to do it because it's a 6 p.m. kickoff. It is the whiteout game against Arizona. This is one that I think a lot of us had some concerns with leading into the season. This is an Arizona team that has already defeated Kansas State. Now, I know Kansas State is really having a rough go of it. I would anticipate that they'll turn things around, but I think this is going to be a more of a solid Arizona team than maybe what many of us were sort of anticipating at the beginning of the year. Keep in mind, Arizona was predicted to win the Big 12 a season ago. Took a step back, but it feels like they've corrected things. And I was looking at their schedule. This is probably their biggest game of the season outside of the Arizona State game at the end of the season. Thoughts on Arizona as we head into Saturday, 6 p.m. kickoff for the whiteout game?
Well, I'm glad we're going to be coming off of a bye. The way we're rested, and hopefully any kind of bangs and nicks we've had have healed, and we come out a lot stronger.
Hey,
they've been playing
you
well.
talk about Knicks. One of the things that I was listening into the Chris and Chris podcast earlier, and Brent Bloom had suggested that Kyle Conrarty has a chance to return Saturday against Arizona, which would be awesome news. I don't know. His girlfriend, his wife, posts some things on TikTok that would lead me to believe that he's out longer than that, but we shall see. But Brent Bloom seemed to think that he might return sooner rather than later.
What injury he had? I didn't know.
It's not disclosed yet. I think it's something. It looked like by the kicking issues that he was having against Arkansas State. I'm going to guess it's some sort of inner thigh muscle, but that's just a guess. We'll probably learn a little bit more. This year, the Big 12 is now requiring each team to put out a medical report before every game. We saw that in week 1, week 0 against Kansas State. We've not seen it since because we haven't played any Big 12 opponents. So we should see something this week that will give us a little bit additional insight as far as that injury or any others that are out there. What was it? Bramer that was out, or Burkle was out for that last game against Arkansas State as well. Had a little dinged up on Thursday of practice, and then they just felt like it'd be better to withhold him. That just with the depth that we have at tight end, that might be a better situation. Get him healthy as we head into the Big 12 season.
Yeah. Hopefully, like I said, it's in a couple of weeks. So, extensive treatment and therapy and things like that. Hopefully that can get it better because he's definitely a key weapon for this team and their success. So, with the way these Arizona teams have been playing, it can be really scary. I'm glad we got them at home, which is going to help us a lot. I think it's going to be a tough one that I'm going to sit and really be able to enjoy and watch. It's not going to be nighttime here, because we're a couple hours behind. It's 6 o'clock. What is it, 6 p.m. kickoff there? So it's going to, sunset is going to be just now creeping towards the mountains a little bit, but I'm going to be front and center waiting on that one.
Do you sit Saturday because the games? You make a good point. The games come on for you at 9 a.m. Are you just watching every game from East Coast to West Coast?
Everyone, and then I watch so many games, and then I look up and it's like, is this game live to start at 8 o'clock? It's like, well, it says it's only 7:30, 8 o'clock here, so it could be, again, I was watching games last night that came on at 8 o'clock, and goes over until like 10 o'clock or so. I'm like, okay, well, that's not that late. I see people complaining about it from the East Coast, about it being so late. But yeah, I catch pretty much. I mean, I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning every morning, even on the weekend. So, once I get up, get my day started, get my juices and my juicing on and my vegetables and all that different stuff I do to start my day. And by the time 8 or 9 o'clock roll around, I'm watching the games and pretty much watching it all day.
I'm exceptionally jealous of you to be able to do that.
Yeah,
I was sitting there
pretty
watching the USC game because Eli Sanders, who used to play at Iowa State, was a running back, is now
Hmm.
at USC. So I really wanted to watch a little bit of him to see how he was doing. I was dragging by last night. I
That's
went to bed.
that's that's straight. That's straight in my day. Like I maybe the last if the game is boring at the end of the game, I'll probably go ahead and doze off. But if it's a good game, no, I'm sitting right here either on the couch in the living room or in the man cave in the garage watching it. This is all depends.
So we're 4-0 again. We talked a little bit about it last week. I had China Chad on last week, by the way. We've talked a little bit about him. He was literally from China. It was his Monday, had him on. So we're 4-0 for the second time in the last 2 years, third
Hmm.
time ever in the program's history. So pretty remarkable to be able to say that. Um, Last week we were at number 12. A couple teams have jumped ahead of us now, so we're 14th in the country. Uh, Indiana just thrashed Illinois yesterday. I got to admit, I was surprised by that. I think Indiana is better than maybe what I was giving them credit for. And then Texas Tech beat Utah at
Hmm.
Utah. I think that was a pretty good win. A close game though. I don't know. Did you have a chance to watch any of that?
I watched it.
It was
Yeah,
so close until really that
yeah,
that fourth quarter.
yeah. Watching it, it kind of made me, scared of what's to come. With these teams, the Big 12, they're getting so much better. Um, they talk about, they even said that they think that those two teams are better than Iowa State, which I firmly disagree with. But yeah, I did watch the game. There'll be a lot of games on. If a Big 12 school is playing, then I'm trying to watch that game. Especially we weren't playing yesterday, so I really was trying to get in as many Big 12 games as possible. But yeah, it was a really good game. Surprising loss, home loss for Utah. They got some veteran players, including the quarterback. That was one of those shockers, to lose at home for them, and I think that makes them so much more dangerous going ahead because now they have that eagerness and that hunger to try to make up for the one that got away from them. So it's going to be a tough battle going here on out.
Do you, Now that we've seen some of these games being played and some that matter in the record in terms of Big 12 play, what do you think is the toughest game that we have left on our schedule? We do not play Texas Tech, and we do not play Utah, who coming into the week were probably the leading contenders for the Big 12 championship or to appear in the Big 12 championship game, along with Iowa State and I think even
Mm-hmm.
TCU. Um, of the teams that we have remaining, is there one that stands out to you as being the toughest?
Um, Not really. If anything, I would say that this Arizona game is going to be the toughest one going ahead, just from the sheer fact of us being off and having a bye. Them wanting to, because it's that the game to come in and still one from a good team from a team that's been playing extremely well for the last couple of years. So coming into Jack Trice and getting a win for them will be big, and so that's one of those games that scares me, if anything. It's going to be exciting to me to watch it because, like I said, I like watching close games, but I still just want to win at the end. I don't want to watch close games. All of the stress that I go through watching close games and liking close games, and we lose, that puts it that much more over the top of my stress and my blood pressure being high. But if it's a good close stressing game and we come out with the victory, then I'm okay with that.
Are there any teams in the Big 12 that maybe have surprised you thus far? And I know it's very early in the season. We've seen some pretty interesting games and I
Uh,
think that Texas Tech and Utah is one of those. I think Kansas
I,
State, some of those games have been eye-opening.
I think these Arizona teams, Arizona State, um, is one that has really surprised me. You never know what you're going to get in the Big 12 for them to come. the Big 12, and especially the season that they had last year. It was a total shocker. But I think those are probably the two biggest programs that have been shocking me the last couple of seasons.
I watched that that Arizona State game late yesterday against Baylor.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
felt like watching Iowa State. Like they kept it close. They played tough. It was a little bit boring at times, even if I could
Hmm.
say that without sounding negative. That's really
Right.
not the intent. But it was just a slugfest battle between those two teams. Two really good defenses as well. Obviously, Baylor has, they probably have every reason to lay down, and they just kept battling. And Arizona State, very similar. It just felt like I was watching Iowa State playing each other.
Yeah, that's a test to the coaching staff. Like when you see a lot of games where it's just total blowouts, it's like, man, what is this, defensive coordinator doing? Like I can understand some point scoring, but like it's 65-3. Like y'all hadn't figured none of this out and made no adjustments through the whole entire game. But when it's close games like that, you have both sides that understand that this is going to come down to somebody making a mistake, and the mistake tends to happen mostly, when the defense gets a good stop, interception or something like that, and then you can get a little bit of the momentum swing, but it's still so close that after you make that score, if you get a defensive stop or interception, you got to get right back on defense and try to buckle down again. So those are the ones I like. Like I said, it's a testament to the coaching staffs on both sides that really put in a lot into it. You just got to have 1 point more than the other team to win the ball game. And for my club, I don't care. We win every game by one. The Kansas City Chiefs made it to the Super Bowl last year by one score, 11, 12 games in a row. They still made it to the Super Bowl, but that is what it is. As long as we can get the dub.
Are you suggesting Cowboy fans should be maybe not throwing in the hat just yet?
The Cowboys a little bit different. I think I think
Come
Jerry
on, give me
I
some
think Jerry
hope.
Jones. Man, I think the team has always been one of the most talented teams in the National Football League. It's just something there that that's holding them back for whatever reason. Um, I just can't put my finger on it. I personally didn't think that they were going to go to Chicago and lose today. Caleb went and had a hell of a game. Dak didn't have a bad game either. I looked up, he was, 20 for 23 or 24 or 25. Like, he didn't have a terrible game, but it's like, man, once it gets out of hand and the other guys are rolling, you can't stop the avalanche. So, again, it's early, so they're 1-3. And, we just go from there.
Well, and you had the Williams, the running back that took it and had it stolen right from him. I mean, you can't let that happen. That's bad
Yeah.
football.
I mean, we saw it happen to Derrick Henry, week one, that you never see. Like, it's one of those things like, how did he fumble that football? How does that happen? It never really happens, but, it can happen on occasion, and it's something that you learn from, obviously.
Well, for me, some of the surprises coming out of the Big 12, the obvious one is Kansas State. If you would have told me before the season that they would be 1-3 at this point, I would have
Yeah.
taken your money and run because I just did not see this happening. The other surprise, and I don't know if it's necessarily a surprise, TCU. I, I I think that we sort of expected them to have a bounce back this season. I think it's a little soon, a little bit early in the season, but they look good. Their quarterback, who we knew was going to be dynamic, is continuing what he did last year. But the one team that really I think surprises me a little bit is Kansas. They continue to light up the scoreboard now. Their schedule wise, I don't know that they've been all that impressive. They did have that loss a week ago against Mizzou, but for the most part, they're putting up some solid scores, and they just demolished West Virginia last night.
Yeah, I know Pat McAfee wasn't happy about that. Look forward to seeing them tomorrow. Talk about that a little bit on the show and see how does he feel about that Molly whopping. But yeah, it's a surprise. You never think about Kansas being a football team, but here as of late they've been playing well for the last 5, 6, 10 years. And the Big 12 is what it is. Like I tell the stories about. I remember when Nebraska was in the Big 12, and I remember when K-State was number one, number two team in the nation. Like we used to play with Kansas State on the NCAA tournament game, NCAA football game. Like they used to be so good, people used to make you you can't play with K-State, you can't play with Nebraska, especially when the option was fairly new of a play to be running. They would not even let you play with those programs, but it is what it is. They've been playing a lot better, like I said, as of late, and it's a testament to how tough this conference is, and hopefully they can continue to get better, and we see Malachi out there shortly to getting some reps and having a productive season.
I think that would be fantastic. That'd be a lot of fun for both of us and for Brent,
Absolutely.
obviously, proud papa. And I did find out so Brent, some people are wondering where Brent is. He's at, is it Oktoberfest? So there's a big event this entire weekend, and I think he had commitments there that he's packing up for again.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps the hardest working man in the area.
Man,
Coaches Kalachi's. He's all over the place.
I don't know if you categorize it as is he a chef? Is he a bake? Whatever it is, man, it's hot in the kitchen. Like people don't understand like how much you do something wrong, a little slight or something off, and you can lose like a whole shipment or something, and you got to start over from the beginning. I personally know myself from being a baker one summer at Iowa State University. This was back in the days before they was putting money in guys' pockets and all of that stuff. I was a baker for a little bit, but it's a lot of hard work. It's it's hot up in there. I'm a little bit taller than Brent, so you don't understand how heat rises, and it's really hot up there. So
Wait,
yeah, we
you
understand.
were a baker, what, like at the towers? Were you cooking people food?
No, at the student union. Where the student union is a bakery in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
It was one of the summer jobs that I had 3 or 4 of that summer. I was in a bakery, I was in the call center, I was working camps, I was doing all of that. And I was there. I wasn't like not there. I was actually having to go to the call center, from 4 to 8 o'clock at night, and, trying to make a couple bucks. But everybody think Marcus Pfizer was getting paid at Iowa State.
You were, but you had to work for it.
That's work. Being paid is not working or doing anything for that paycheck. No, I was working.
All right, so young season, we're 4 games in. Who of these 4 here would you call the MVP of the season thus far? We've got Rocco Becht, Kyle Conrarty, Dominic Orange, or is there a 4th person? Is there someone else that Marcus Pfizer would say is the MVP thus far in this young season?
I'm going to say Kyle. To me, we know all the other guys are important. Especially Rocco. What he do as the leader of the team. I think Conradi, has put us over the top. Some big key games all the way back to last year. To understand the game more, strategy and things like that, you understand how important kickers are and place kickers are, and that those because they become more and more involved in the scheme of the game plan. If we're down by 2, we're down by 1. If we can get 2, now it's almost within 60 yards because these guys are booting. Even in the NFL, they're making 58, 60 yarders like it's nothing. So, It's exciting to see. It's more pressure to make that than a free throw, but it's the same type of scenario where you're basically there by yourself. You got to concentrate. They got to test for win. They got to test for a ton of things, and to see that ball go in or not go in, to win or to lose it, man, it's tough.
You're right, to line up for a 63-yarder with 61,500 fans screaming. Well, at that point, it was deathly quiet.
Mhm.
Then against Iowa to come back for a game winner after kicking a 54-yarder the prior year. Like,
Yeah.
we got to remember this. Kyle, I think he's 20 years old. He's a
Mhm.
sophomore.
Right. Right. So, for me personally, not as a negative thing, I knew the crowd was there, but it's too many people to focus on anything to even be like, okay, the crowd to me is just like, even on the road, fans are yelling things and things like that. Like, I would have to really turn and listen and to focus on what you're saying. Otherwise, it's just chatter. That's the same as clapping to me. I mean, just a loud noise that I'm really tuning out anyways. But I think it's more of the focus of, making a shot, making a free throw, making the field goal. Like, that's the focus of everything.
How do you do that at
Even,
Fog Allen? Because those are not friendly fans.
I really don't even, if it was a situation where somebody jumped out of the crowd, behind me or saying, I probably wouldn't even see them because it's such a tunnel vision, for me, even at the free throw line with people behind the baskets and like holding up swirls and all that. Like, I don't even see that. I'm looking at the basket. I mean, I'm not, why would I be looking through the backboard at what you're doing when I should be focused on the basket? So I think a lot for, kickers is the same thing. They see the field goal post, and that's what they're focusing on. They focus on the flag. They focus on, where they got to get it. And, they're the first ones to know that it's off before, just like you when you shoot it. You're the first one to know that it's not going to go in. Sometimes, it's like, oh, that, and then it hits against the rim or it hits against the goal post and doink in, and it's like, I take it, and that's how it be.
Did you say squirrels? People are holding up squirrels?
No, those the swirl
Oh,
things where like
sound.
no, but like it's like a big swirly thing or whatever that's supposed to like
All right,
disorient
sorry.
your eyes and stuff like that. So it's like all kind of different stuff. They waving all behind the basket. I'm like, I don't even see that.
It'd be more fun to hold up squirrels, but
That'd be pretty impressive if somebody had a squirrel.
Hey, before we close out, did you get a chance to watch today the NFL Today show throwback that they celebrated 50 years of the NFL Today, and Brent Musburger was on and came on and did the whole "You are looking live"
No, I
introduction?
didn't. I didn't see that. No, I was in my storage room getting some things out of there earlier, and I, was trying to get that situated before my handyman guy came by and to get ready for the game. So no, I didn't see that.
Oh, it was interesting. It was a lot of fun. They came back with old time graphics, and one of the I think the very first this program brought to you by Jeep, and it
Hmm.
showed a Jeep from 40, 50 years ago. It was a lot of
Oh
fun to
wow.
be able to watch that, and just the old school introduction where I remember 45, 50 years ago when the NFL Today show had the graphics with the computerized runner or football player that was running, and you think, whoa, that was so high tech, and now, it's blown out of the water with what we see today. But back then,
Right.
you thought,
Right.
boy, we're in the 2000s now. That's pretty sharp. It was fun.
Right. That type of stuff. You remember the old football games where the football game that was like electric and it shaked and the
The
players
vibrate.
just we used to think stuff like that was so high tech. And I remember my oldest son, who's he's 27 years old now. Like my parents had an older TV at home, well, as he got older and we went back, and he was like, "What's that behind the TV?" It's like that's a part of the TV, so because they're used to flat screen TVs, they're not used to the tube TVs what they have in the back, the Sony Vega TV. He was like, "What's that on the back there?" It's like that's part of the TV. So I mean, times have changed, technology has come so far ahead, and I'm glad where we're at now.
If you want to have fun with your kids, get them a dial-up phone. Like plug it into your wall if you even if you even are able to, and
I
try to make your
don't think
kids
we have that.
say call your mom, call grandma, call a relative, just call your friend, call somebody using this phone and see if they can do it. We did
It's,
that one year for, I think it was over the holidays, and we went to mom's house and had my kids do it. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen.
I don't think maybe my oldest children might like maybe the oldest Junior is 21 now. Um, I know not since him, but none of kids from him on down to our youngest is 10. Um, they've never been in a house with a house phone. We've never had house phones in the house, and we've had printer machines, fax machines, and stuff like that we've had a house line, but we've never had a house phone in the house to the cell phones, like, what I got a house phone for? Everybody has. My 10-year-old has a cell phone, so everybody has a cell phone. So things like that, like when these kids see like a house phone, they don't know what it is. And those are the funny. And you think to yourself, what do you mean? What is that? Like, what is this? And then you have to understand. And like, you only been here about 15 years. I get it. I get it now. That's crazy.
Yeah, I was talking with my mother not too long ago, and she goes, I've left you a voicemail at your house. I'm going, Mom, I haven't had a phone in my house for 10 years. She goes,
And
well,
you left a
really?
voice.
I've left you a voicemail. I go, no, I haven't. And I said, call it right now and just see if there's a voice, because we didn't have voicemail on there. We had
Mhm.
like an external machine that you would call in. Because I tell you why, I saved that machine forever, because Dan McCarney called all the season ticket holders and left an automated message. So I thought that was the coolest thing, and I kept it forever. I think I think Fred did one year, so I kept that one. And then we just never got the phone line hooked up while we
Right,
moved, transitioned to different providers.
right.
And so she called it, and doggone it, you can leave a voicemail message. I have no idea how to retrieve it, but
How to retrieve it? Did never set it up. Nothing.
don't
The
have it
same
hooked
way.
up at all, at all.
Wow.
All right. I think that's probably a good place to stop. Got a big game on Saturday. It is a 6 p.m. kickoff, so nice and early for you, Marcus, so you can watch the game, have a
Yeah.
nice dinner with a family, and then still have your West Coast games to be able
Still
to
have.
watch. Again, it's that whiteout game that it looked phenomenal last year when it was on TV. I think that was a TCU game. I have to go back and look, but
Mhm.
that was a lot of fun. So hope everyone can join us on Saturday. If you don't have your tickets, please get them now. There's probably a few left for that whiteout. Should be a ton of fun. And I tell you what, the tailgate lots open at noon. I'm going to anticipate that crowd's going to be obnoxious for that game. Any final score predictions out of you, Marcus?
Oh, I got pretty close last time with the 49-3, so um
That's what I was waiting for you to drop. Another 49-3.
no, I say this will be a close. I say something around like 20, say 24, something weird, 24-16. Say something like that, something weird like that.
All right. I'm going to go 27-21. I think there's going to be a tight game again. I would say it just feels like one of those years that all of our games are going to be close.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm fine with as long as we get the dub, like I said.
That's right. All right, that's a wrap for the show. We appreciate everyone for joining us tonight. Again, thank you to our sponsors, Andrew Downs with AKC Marketing Studio, of course, Revelton Distilling Company. I should probably show my bottle here. I opened up a new one tonight of the Mulberry Gin, which is my favorite. I have a feeling we'll probably have a little bit more tomorrow as I host with Chris Shipley on Old Man Strength. And then, of course, to our newest sponsor, JJ's Boutique out of Johnson, Iowa. So, Marcus, good to see you. Brent,
You too, bro.
glad you had a good weekend, and we'll see everyone on Saturday. Go Cyclones.
There's a cyclone brewing on the outskirts tonight. Jack Try shakes when the team takes flight. Hilton's rocking, hear the magic call. We rise together, we'll never fall. There's a cyclone brewing on the outskirts tonight. Jack Try shakes when the team takes flight.